So today I thought I will show you something that a lot of newbies have problem with. I've done this before, but I think from now on what I will do is I'll go back and bring them out again and not do a full length one, but talk about some of the things. So for example, today what I'm planning on doing is to show you when you want to place offer uh, on the MLS. How would you go about that? And I will share with you my template that I use when I approach agents. So I found that I have a better response rate, but there's really no guarantee. Unfortunately, they're good agents and they're bad agents, which means the bad one never respond to anything, like even phone calls. I'll go to voicemail. But I'll give you a couple of very specific tips, so that will help you, and I'll share this with you in a moment. So before I do that, this is important part. I don't think anybody that I recognize most of the names, but just in case anybody who is brand new have recently joined and this is their very first call, if that's you, then can you raise your hand through Zoom? And so I'd like to call on you, just say hi to you. If not, we are good. Okay, no one. All right. So let's all right. So here's what I'm gonna do. Let me share my screen. And then I'll take any questions you might have specifically on this. All right. So can everybody see my screen? Just put a thumbs up. Okay, cool. All right. So this is placing offer on MLS listing. So here's what I do. I look for, let me see if I can show you. I guess you already know, right? When you see a listing on the MLS, on Zillow, it's slightly different. Of course, on Realtor.com, first of all, does everybody, I'm assuming, knows what a MLS listing is, right? That's a listing. MLS is a realtor based listing. So, in other words, every city, metropolitan city area, have their own realtor network, and they use their realtors to list exclusively on that system. And they're very protective about that, which means the actual sales data is not available to anybody else unless you're a realtor or you have a realtor pull data for you. So the MLS system is when you go to Zillow, it's a collection of all the hundreds and thousands of MLS listing in local areas. But when you go to Zillow, you can see all of them. That's what that is. So when you go to Zillow and you put in a city, then it taps into that city's MLS listing system and then pulls the data from it. Does that make sense? So that's how it works. So in other words, it's a officially listed property. It's not. Now I let me just correct that. There is a section now both in Zillow and Realtor.com that's called for sale by owner. That's not what I'm talking about. They may still be listed on Zillow and they may still be listed on Realtor.com. And what that is you own the property and you're listing it yourself. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not the MLS listing. MLS listing is through a broker. All right. Which mean, and the reason is that when you look at a listing like that, the brokers have to follow rules and regulation because they're licensed. And so there are a lot of things, there are requirements that they have to do to ensure that the listing is proper, information is correct, it's verified, and a whole bunch of other things. One of the important thing I think I mentioned before, one of the reasons I buy regularly by the MLS is because I get a disclosure statement. By law, the first thing I ask is I like to see the disclosure statement because if they know of any existing problems with the property, especially major issues, they have to list them. Now, there are some exceptions if, let's say, they were an investor and the property has been with a tenant for a very extended period of time. They could say that I've never lived there and I don't know anything. Those are some other exceptions. But other than that, if they even have a slight indication there is a problem, they have to list it. Otherwise, they can get sued. So they're very, very careful about that. All right. So here's what I do. The first step is if I find a listing, I do not, I guess you understand when the listing shows, remember realtor.com, Zillow, also they have to make money somehow, right? So one of the ways they do that is they have realtors pay them so that they can get leads, right? So when you look at a listing, they may be on the big side, on the right, left side, there may be an ad, but it doesn't say it's an ad. It says, do you like to connect with the realtor? Do not use that because that's an ad. And what that is doing is it's literally an agent paying for the lead for you to call them on that property and then they'll help you. All right. That's not what I'm doing. And I suggest you don't do that. What I do is I go directly to the listing agent. So in most listing, and I use Zillow exclusively, if you scroll down, you will see at the bottom somewhere listing broker. There will be a name and there will be a phone number. Now, sometimes the name is the person's name, which is ideally that's what you want, whoever the person is. And then there will be a phone number. Now, let me tell you about the phone number. And this, again, I made mistakes before I realized what I was doing wrong. So, um, that number, you're assuming that's their cell number. Yes, that's quite possible that it's their cell number. But it's also possible that it's their landline. So if you actually text to that number and you never get a response, or one of the two things could be happening. One or three things. One, they are really bad and they don't respond. Two, it could be a landline and they never got the message, right? And so I realize now that I actually, the best thing is if you put that number, if you copy that number and just put it in Google and search it, if it's a landline, if it's their listed number, it'll actually show up. So now you know that you don't need to text that number because you'll probably never get a response. Does that make sense? So what I then in that case I do is that's the number they listed, which means they would prefer you to call them. So I would just pick up the phone and call them. Does that make sense? Now, in this, this is a very old template. I don't exactly use everything in it, but the things that I ask are in this template. So I would say, hi, name of the listing agent. I'm interested in your listing. You have to have that address there. I like to just, if the description did not have any information, whether there were any major issues, I just ask them, what are the major issues with this house? Now, if there are pictures there, make sure you look at the pictures first. Make sure you read the description first before you ask question. A lot of times, agents also get really annoyed because some of the things that you may be asking is listed in the listing, in the description. Number two, maybe obvious from the pictures. For example, there is a water heater and you saying, is there a water heater? Well, they're going to get annoyed, right? So make sure you go through the listing. And then once you have questions, then you can go back and ask them. So I do usually ask just off the top, what are the major issues with the house? In most cases, the brokers are aware. They have been informed by the seller, hey, that's the reason why I'm selling this property is because, there's blah, 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 so much problem. The roof leaks and blah, 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 right? So the agent will tell you right up front that, yeah, there is an active leak in this house. Uh, this is very important. If you're interested in the property, maybe you just like the address or whatever, and there are not enough pictures, just the front picture. Ask them, do you have additional pictures? Believe it or not, they definitely have more pictures. 99% of the cases when I've asked them, they've immediately text me the pictures. So why do they not list it? Remember, I told you we are dealing with low end price point properties. Depending on the agent, if he has a lot of 100,000 plus dollar listings, this is not his priority or her priority. So they're not going to spend time uploading pictures for a $30,000 house where if they're not the broker, they're not getting the full commission. It's, their commission is barely, 3,000, way less than 3,000. Does that make sense? So they're not going to put pictures because of that reason. So they have the pictures. So you do have to ask them. And also, I do ask about whether it's occupied or not, because sometimes the pictures might be a little bit old, especially if it shows the furniture and looks like somebody's living there. You want to verify that is it vacant or not, because if it's not vacant, then you have to ask other questions. And then right in the first text message, I ask them, where can I email my offer? that immediately tells the listing agent that okay, I'm definitely interested. I'm not just a tire kicker. Does that make sense? So you may have to tweak this, but this is what I use. So step two, um, then I, go through my due diligence. I would, run sold comms. I would do rental comms. You can use PropWire for sold comms. You can do rental comms from Zillow as well. Then do your money math. Figure out what the sales price is going to be. This is something you don't have to do. I just really wanted to show you this first slide, and let's see. I don't. Yeah, this may be helpful. So let me go back to this one. So some people get stuck on proof of fund. So this URL is ideal. It's free, and I'll tell you, I use it all the time. I'll tell you one of the reasons why this is what I would recommend is because it is actually a real company and they're a hard money lender. All right. And so one of the things they do actively, and they know that they're doing this, is they provide you free proof for funds with the name of a person and a phone number. It's an actual person, actual company. And what they're doing is their idea is at some point, if you do want to do business, you need money, they want to be the lender. So because of that, they're immediate. So it's literally a form. You put in the information and the price you're offering, and like within seconds, you get a PDF document with your company name, the offer you're placing, email to you. So when I put offers in, I put my proof of funds always attached to my offer. So you can get that over here. Let's see, what else did I have here? So this is how I place an offer. So I would say I'm pleased to offer the amount, the address. I always say this is an all cash offer with no contingencies. When you are buying of homes like this, you have to say that. Don't assume when you say that it's an all cash offer, they assume that you may have some. So say there are no contingencies. But we would like to have a 3-day inspection period where I like to do a walkthrough. In some cases, I do virtual walkthrough. In some cases, if I have my person on boots on the ground, I'll have that doing that. And then I do mention that I have the ability to close within 10 to 15 days, and I'm attaching my proof of funds. Does that make sense? And in case you're wondering something like this works or not, well, this home I'm looking at the address, it's in my portfolio, so it does work. Okay. So that's what I wanted to share with you because I just came across this and I thought in fact, I've covered this in one of my very first videos I realized, which actually was never recorded. So I wanted to share that. And maybe I can answer some question at this point. Let me just hold on. Let me allow you to unmute yourself. Raise your hand. And if you have any questions about what I covered or anything else, we can take questions. While we're waiting, Major, what's going on?
Hey there. Awesome. Um, Dave was asking how can you look at a neighborhood in real time? I don't know any real time like cameras you can like get it into or CTV, but I'm like maybe you could rent a Uber driver to drive around with the camera.
You you don't need that. You can use Google Map. That is not real time and that is not very, very current, but that's the best you can do. It's actually really good because even if the neighborhood has changed, I don't think the entire neighborhood has changed drastically. Do you see that? So maybe one or two homes were burnt. They may still be there, right? If there are a lot of boarded homes, when you drive the neighborhood, maybe one or two have been rehabbed, but the other will still be there. So I use that all the time. So you simply go to the address, then you do the street drive, and then drive up or down the street, and then try the connecting street. That's what I do. And the reason for doing that is just this. You want to make sure that not all the homes in the neighborhood are boarded. What Scott teaches us, right? You want to avoid those. So I found really good properties, but then as soon as I look at the neighborhood, lots of boarded homes. The home in front is boarded, maybe just one or two people living on that entire block. I don't want to buy there. That's what Scott says. That's the idea. Cool. All right. So we'll take some questions. Keith, please go ahead.
Hi, I was just wondering, what would you say is the best practice to send them a text first or try to call and talk, have a conversation with them?
So, like I said in the earlier part, the number that is listed, if it's a cell number, then I would text first. If it's not a cell number, it's a listed like a office number, then they really want you to call. So then you should be calling. The problem is if you assume that's a text, it's a cell number, and you text, you don't get a message. So you don't really know if it's gone through or not. Obviously, I don't. In most cases, you cannot get a text message on your landline unless it's a virtual line, right?
Yeah.
So the worst thing is that you think you sent a message and you never got a response. Well, guess what? They didn't get the message because it was a landline. So what I'm saying is do this as soon as you see the number. The first thing you do is put it in Google and search and see if it comes up. If it's a cell number, it will not come up. It'll show just random stuff, right? But if it's a listed number, an office number, it'll come up. It'll show you that, oh, ABC Realtor, and it's their phone number. So now you know it's a landline. Don't text. Pick up the phone and call. And that's actually a good way to know who's going to respond. If they listed a phone number for their office, that's how they do business, and that's what they expect from prospects to call. So they would be calling rather than texting.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Next up, Jolene.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, good. It's interesting that you're talking about the MLS today because I've been using it for the last 2 days, and
There we go.
I
Did you place
actually
any offers? That's the question.
did I make any offers? No.
Okay.
Nope,
But
nope.
you're getting close.
I
You're doing it.
yeah, I saw a foreclosure today in Flint, Michigan, and it looked really livable for 18,000, and I'm
Okay.
almost ready to just go fly up there.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, I'm
But
sure
I
you're
had to,
kidding.
but I had to tell you, I retired airlines, so I have flight benefits.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And it's just
Well,
one
why don't
flight.
we just fly? Why don't we just fly while we're doing that? Let's just fly to Colorado also on the way back. We also have a very close family friend. She retired from Delta, and anytime you ask her, she's in Japan, she's somewhere else
Yeah,
in
yeah.
California.
I retired on SkyWest, so I get Delta and United, which is really
Wonderful,
beautiful.
wonderful.
Yeah. But anyway, so I called the number that you told us not to call, but they were very friendly.
Okay.
And I find them very helpful, and I just kind of tell them what I'm doing. And so then they start sending me homes that are 30,000, around 30,000, that are livable. And I've talked to two. I've talked to one in Cleveland and one in Detroit. And they're both, I'm not sure yet just where I'm going to go. But I also wanted to ask you about Columbus. Have you done anything in Columbus, Ohio?
No, and I would stay away from what was the other city you named other than Detroit?
Cleveland.
Yeah, I would stay away from those cities.
Cleveland.
I remember doing some research last year, and other than Toledo in Ohio, none of the other cities are recommended, so I would stay away from them.
Well,
Michigan is
uh-huh.
very iffy. Michigan has some neighborhoods that are good. The problem is, you probably know the history. You know, it for a very long time. It was a major U.S. city, so it has a lot of homes. But when it had a really major downturn,
Yeah,
a lot of homes, if you go literally, neighborhoods are boarded up, burnt houses, and
abandoned.
all that.
Mhm,
So you really don't know what you're buying, and
mhm.
it's hit and miss kind of a thing. That's one problem, and the other big problem is that you will have a hard time getting insurance.
Oh,
So Mike Grizzle is the guy who does. He's a big broker. He does a lot of insurance for a lot of people in our community. He's just told us outright. He said, "Don't buy in in Detroit specifically. Major carriers are not covering. They just look at
oh,
the zip code and they just say no."
oh, really? Oh, that's
Yeah.
good to know. And then I looked at Flint because there was a group member that just sold
Mhm.
a cute little home for 18,000 in Flint. I saw it, but I'm just not ready to jump yet. I think
Just
I'm
take your
afraid.
time. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
No,
I'm
no,
not.
no. That's so here's what I think you should be doing. And I think you're already doing it, but I think you're like I said, narrow down the number of cities you want to look at. If you keep looking at 20 cities, you will be all over the place because they're all going to be very different.
Mm-hmm,
Narrow it down to maybe five.
hmm.
That is an easier number. And then consistently keep looking. If you do the 100 home thing, afterwards you'll have a kind of an idea that okay, in this market for this price, I can get homes that would rent for this much.
Hmm.
Once you start getting that over and over again, yourself you'll feel confident.
Hmm.
That's when you start placing offers. So don't think that. And by the way, if you don't place offers, as you know, you will never buy a home. So you really have
Yeah.
to be very aggressive on offers. Also, you cannot just make one offer and wait for the response. You have
Hmm.
to simultaneously be putting several offers. So let's say if
Okay.
an offer is even accepted, that doesn't mean that you have to close on it. Remember, because you have a 3-day inspection period, you can always back out. So let's say
Okay.
you get three people, suddenly you played 10 offers and three came back and say, yeah, we are ready. Don't freak out. It's not a big deal. You just choose the one that is best for you and then focus that. But it's very important that you do multiple offers. So you will literally,
Okay.
it has to be very mechanical that your number of offers have to be substantially large. So in other words, just work your way in thinking, where do I start? And cut down to five is what I would suggest. Yeah, I don't know how many cities you are looking at.
Well, for some reason, I just want to avoid Illinois just because of what I've heard, the stories that Scott has said, and that they don't like us. But it seems like Illinois is really, really popular on the in the community, and so I've been looking at a little bit of Missouri and then Ohio, and then I looked at Flint, Michigan, because of the other member said he had 10 homes in Flint and it was going really well for him. Um, but I wanted to say it was just the perfect timing for you to show us the POF, because everyone I talk to says, well, you need to have proof of funds. But then when I go to the private money lenders, they say, well, you have to have a house under
Yeah.
contract. So you just get kind of stuck in the middle. So I'll use that hard money lender that you just mentioned. That's going to be really helpful. And do you go to Illinois? I don't know why.
I have a lot of my properties are in Illinois. Several.
And and it works
Almost
out.
half my portfolio is in Illinois. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know
In
the
different
house.
cities, not in same cities, though.
Okay, okay. I guess I just remember in the beginning when Scott said Illinois doesn't like us. So
Well, but
laws.
he does also say that you do get a better home for that price,
Hmm.
and the rents are also higher.
Mm,
So it's either way. And then I can tell you the problems that you have, you may not have the same problems, but you may have other kind of problems in other cities. So
okay.
yes, Illinois is a little bit more restrictive in that sense. At some point, I think in life you have to make some decision. It's like, you got to figure out what's out there. And at some point you decide, okay, I'm willing to take this much risk,
Mhm.
and then with this much rich I can do this, right? So you just have to decide, okay, this is all that is available right now. You want to do the best you can for your knowledge base and based on what you know. Now if you don't want to deal with the Illinois, what's going on in Illinois, so yeah, just completely avoid Illinois altogether. Ohio is like I said, Toledo is a good market. It's a big area. In Michigan, I have properties in Saginaw, so you can look at Saginaw. It's a small
Oh,
market. It's a like Flint. It's like Flint, basically.
uh-huh.
I think Flint
Okay.
is bigger.
Uh-huh.
Flint has a lot more inventory. Saginaw is a little smaller. So if you're not comfortable with it, but they're kind of similar market in that sense.
Okay.
So you could
Okay.
look at those, and then but all my other properties are in like Cahokia, Decatur, all those cities. I have homes in all those
I
areas.
noticed there's just a lot of the group that does that
Yeah,
element.
yeah. So, but if you're concerned about that, let it be the first home be not Illinois. But
Yeah.
what that'll do is get you going. See, if
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is holding you back, then that's not a good reason, right? So you gotta do something. So
Right. Right. Oh, I was gonna say something else. Yeah. Anyway. Okay.
you can come back in a moment.
Okay.
That's
All
all
right.
we're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, Mr. Rose, go ahead and meet yourself, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, how are you?
Yes. I was going through the process of elimination with the states that wanted to slow flip, and I came down to Peoria, right?
Peoria, Illinois, yeah.
Peoria, Illinois, St. Louis, and Toledo, Ohio. And I think right now Peoria may not be the one for me because I'm hearing too many people talking about um these not liens, these fines they're getting in Peoria like through the roof. I'm like, what's going on? You know?
So, yes and no. I have properties in Peoria.
Okay.
So I haven't received any fines so far. I mean, I get fines, but
Mhm.
that's the city. Look at it this way. I want you to understand what's going on. So the city, unlike other cities like Ohio, they don't do that. But in Peoria, what they do is if your grass and weed is a certain inches, they give you a
Right,
fine. Okay. What does it
right,
mean
right.
overall for the city? Why do you think the city is doing it? Do you think they're just doing it for collecting fine money? Yes, that is one of the motivation. But
Hmm.
think about it. What is that generally doing to the city? Well, generally what that means is people are trying to avoid those fines, right? So people are going to keep their grasses cut,
Right,
right? They're going to keep
right.
their yard. So that's a good sign. Actually,
Hmm.
it's a sign of a city that is concerned about how clean their street should be.
Right,
People shouldn't be parking in their, front, that kind of
right,
stuff.
right,
So there's always another side of the story. So, but yeah, nobody wants
right.
$2,000-3,000 fine. That, by the way, an extreme. The lady who was it a lady who posted that she got a $3,000 fine?
Yeah, yeah, in the group,
That's
right.
an exception. The
That's
fines are
extreme.
usually a couple of $100s, and
Hmm.
the process is very simple. As soon as you get a fine, if it's weed and all that, just pass it on to your tenant buyer and let them handle it. Now
Right.
the issue is different. Understand this. There's a communication and management issue also. If you don't know how to communicate with your tenant buyer, you don't know how to manage your portfolio, and you're getting all these fines, and you don't know what to do with it, well, that's not the problem. That's not the city's problem. It's not the city that's bad. Well, you
Hmm.
don't know how to handle it. I mean, I get fines also, but the moment I
Right,
get a fine, I immediately scan it and it's on the platform and I put it on my tenant buyer. And so the way I do it is very simple. Their invoice is I have that option turned off in Inago where they can make partial payments. So in other
okay.
words, when they make a payment, the fine is now part of the payment. So they cannot not pay the fine. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes,
So it's
yes.
it's it's a very it's not very complicated.
Right.
But if somebody doesn't do it, well, guess what? Yeah, they're getting stressed. They don't know how to manage it. They're calling the city. They don't have to call the city. I mean, what will the city do? Yeah, maybe they will reduce the fine, but
Right,
that's city's job. They're going to do that. The problem is not that. The problem is you have to train your tenant buyer that hey, it's your responsibility to take care of the property, and if you don't, well, you get evicted because that's part of the agreement you sign. You
right.
know,
You said train your tenant buyer.
train meaning to say, tell them how you how you do
How you
business.
want it to go.
Yeah, it's
Right,
just like you have a home and your bank has a mortgage on it. And if you call your bank and say, you know what, the roof has been leaking, and I need it fixed. And so if you call the bank, what do you think they're going to say? Well, I don't know why you're calling us.
mm,
We're the bank. So you have to have the
right,
same mentality and
right.
you communicate with your tenant by the same way. So
Makes
one of the
sense.
things I do, and I don't say that you should do it, is I don't take phone calls from my tenant buyer at all. One
Right,
reason is a legal reason because when you talk to them verbally and some conversation happens, they could tomorrow say in court, well, verbally you told me this. So I don't even
makes
have a
sense.
conversation verbally. It's always in writing. So if and ever they say anything, I have a track record of the emails and saying, okay, on this date, this is what they said. So
Right.
that's one reason. So there's a way I manage it, and that's what I would, suggest people manage. I actually have a video on that. So if you go to the
Okay.
recordings, Major will put if you don't mind, sir. He already does. These are past recording, and so one of the recordings I did was about tenant buyer management process that I use, communication and management.
Okay.
Some of the things I mentioned there will help. Now, I'm not saying I don't have evictions, or I'm not saying I don't have problem tenants.
Right.
That happens. But what that I am able to do is I'm able to overcome that and not get too stressed because I have a process. It's a very simple, it's a business process. I don't get emotionally involved, you know. Uh, I'll give you a very quick example. So there was a lady, she was giving me a hard time. First, she was trying to call me and she was really getting upset because I didn't pick up the phone. And then finally, she emailed me and I told her, I can help you, but it has to be in writing and this is the process. And gradually, I noticed that her tone changed. I told her, and from your side, you have to be very, so it's like the same thing. They're going to be emotional. If you're on the phone, you're going to get emotional. But if they're
Right.
emotional on an email, it's very easy to be professional in your response and be very neutral. And that usually teaches them how, to go about this,
Mhm.
And so that's what I call training your tenant buyer.
Okay, that's good. Now, next question: do you ever send like somebody or boots on the ground to take a peek at the house every 6 months,
No,
something like that?
it's
You
not
know, just
necessary. You'll go crazy
okay,
if that happens. As long as
okay,
they're paying. Yes, when they're not paying and it's they're delinquent and that kind of stuff, that's what my when I would maybe send. But it's if it's not necessary, it's not necessary.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Yes, sir. Keith, go ahead, please.
Yeah, you had mentioned, actually, I heard this a few times, about a 3-day inspection period. Is that enough? I just know that in wholesaling,
Yeah.
we
So
usually
that's
do like 10 to 15 days.
yeah. Nobody will accept 10 to 15 days. As soon as you say 10 or 15 days, they're not going to respond to you. Because what's happening is, remember, these are distressed properties. So number one, they want to sell it on cash. Number two, they don't want any contingency, which means if you put a contingency that is subject to and then keep it open, like subject to an inspection or subject to financing and all that, they're not going to accept your offer because that's not what this deal is. Same with inspection. They will tell you that, okay, if we open the door for you and you come in and you walk, that is your inspection. And they want to do it quickly. They don't want to, in other words, if a distressed property generally has to move fast, that's the reason why it's distressed. That's why they price it that way. If they give you a 15-day inspection period and after 15 days you say you don't want to buy it, well, guess what? They have to now put it back in the market and put another 15 days. Somebody comes in and so they don't want to do that. This is not a traditional sale. A traditional sale, yes, you have that period. You have, inspector coming in, they give you a report, and then you go back and all that kind of stuff. This is not that. This is different. So you have to step back and think what they're thinking. Most of these sellers are people, they're either other investors, if they're other homeowners, there is a situation that's causing it to be distressed and sold at on cash basis, which means there's a divorce or something else, and they want the house gone ASAP. So as soon as you put 10 days of inspection, they're gonna say we don't want that. In fact, some of them actually tell their broker. They just tell them, look, I just want this sold. So as soon as somebody says 15 days inspection period, they will not even respond to you. So then you will wonder, well, why nobody's responding? Because you put ten days inspection period in there. So what you
Mhm.
have to do, the solution is very simple. What you have to do is if you, as soon as you get it under contract, find a boots on the ground and have them walk the property for you. I mean, you will find something within a day or two. So if you put 3 days, you should be able to do it in 3 days. Most
Yeah,
people
that yeah, that was my concern. Making sure I can get the boots on the ground guy over there to look at it
So,
in time.
so the worst thing is, remember, you have 3 days to back out. So if you can find somebody to do it, back out. Officially respond to them and saying that, I can't find somebody to do it and I'm sorry because of that. So that's what it's for. Now I'm gonna tell you something which you might think is a little odd, but I actually use either the listing agent or I use a buyer's agent to do the inspection for me. I sometimes don't even use boots on the ground, my boots on the ground. And I do a virtual walkthrough, which is live, which means when the person is going, they do a FaceTime with me, and I just tell them, okay, I want you to walk. So I already have the pictures, right? So I already know how the home is and all that. So if there are areas of concern, I would ask them to do a virtual walkthrough with a camera, and then I'll tell them, I want you to go here, I want you to go here, and that if I had any questions or doubts, I'm not listening to them as an expert in the condition of the. I never asked them that. And by the way, you guys should understand this. There's a little confusion in our community about somehow your boots on the ground are. some kind of expert. They're not expert. Most of these people are, they do handiwork. That doesn't mean they know way more than you do. I mean, maybe a little bit more, but they're not experts in the sense by telling you overall what the condition is. At the end, you have to make the decision. Big issues like roof. Does the roof leak or not? It's a very simple problem. It leaks or it doesn't leak, right? The condition of the roof is a kind of a gray area. So you have to make a judgment based on the pictures. That's what I do. I look at the pictures. If the roof looks decent, no problem. If there's a little issue with this, I usually send the pictures to Mike. Mike can very quickly look at the pictures and tell me, yeah, there won't be any problem. Or he'll tell me, yes, it'll be a problem and you're going to find it hard for insurance company to cover it because the roof obviously looks bad, right? So you should be able to do these things. You don't, the boots on the ground just is there to verify the things that you already kind of know or you want to verify it. Beyond that, don't rely on their um, advice per se. That's what I mean.
Yeah. What was Mike's last name? The insurance
Grizzle.
um Grizzle, Gris.
No, Grizzle.
Czle. Okay, Grizzle. Okay. So he can find out quickly whether a house should be insurable or not. So
Yeah,
that was another
if you give
concern
him
of
my
mine.
address, he can. So insurance companies and brokers have these software, I think satellite imagery, and what they can do is they can take very quick pictures of the roof and they can just estimate based on that how. First of all, they already know based on the zip code, um, you know, whether they're writing policies in there. Number one. Number two, they look at the roof. They do look at the exterior and they want to look at. For example, I bought a home where the home was fine, the roof was good, but in the front, some of the siding was actually missing. It wasn't damaged; it was actually missing. So he told me up front. He said, "Look, they can give you a conditional coverage right now, but as soon as you buy it, you do have to get that done." And that was so small; it was just a small section, and it was a couple of $100. The deal was really, really good. So that's when you make a decision that, okay, this is such a small thing and this deal is so big, that thing I can do. But if the roof is bad, you have an issue. The roof is not a small, you know, expense. It's a major expense. So that's why those are the things. A foundation, roof, furnace. If furnace or water heater is missing, you have to estimate what that's going to cost. Furnace is more expensive than a water heater is, maybe $1,500, something like that. But with the installation and all that. So once you do it a couple of times, you'll realize how much these things cost. Um, the best thing for Jolene, just like you mentioned, Jolene, what I would do is, for your case, all the newbies, try to buy a home that has either tenant in there in the process of being evicted or just getting out, or it was very recently occupied. Because what that does tell you is most of the things generally, and you cannot journalize it, that they work. The furnace works. The water heater works. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying buy with the tenant. That's another complication. But you can ask. Sometimes, when the property is listed, just ask them, hey, do you know how long this has been vacant? And they'll tell you. They'll know. There will be a history. Maybe it was on a rental. Oh, yeah, the tenant just moved out last month. Perfect. So once you look at things, you can make an estimate. That's one way of doing. I'm not saying that 100% rely on it, but that's one good way of knowing that the property is in move in kind of a condition in terms of the mechanicals.
So I saw a house that was like it was pretty, it's probably one of the better houses that I've seen as far as the flooring, the wall, everything just looked ready to move in. But somebody stole the water heater and the heating system. Everything else was perfect. So like is that, and I just passed on it because it didn't have
Right.
those
So
systems.
let's run the scenario. How much was it listed for?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I looked
So
at so many
let's
years.
say it was listed for 2025. That's
Yeah.
what usually people will do when they know that the furnace and the water heater is missing. Furnace could be about 5 to 6 grand, and a water heater could be between $1,500 to $2,000 installed, right? So how much is that? Together, that's like 8 grand. Now
Yeah.
think of it in terms of your tenant buyer. You're selling this property to someone who already cannot afford. They're coming up with $2 or $3,000, and now you're telling them, oh, by the way, you'll have to put $8,000 in to live there because they need hot water. They need heat and during winter. This is the Midwest, so it's just not going to work. Now, let's say you were not. I'm just saying a scenario. Let's say you were the house is fantastic, and you're finding the house. You're buying the house for 10 grand. Now the math has changed. Now this is on the assumption that it's 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom or whatever, and you can rent it for like close to $900. Now you have a, really good. You said everything looks good. So now you think, okay, if I do put 8 grand in it, I'm in it for like 20 grand. Whether you get a 30 grand loan on it or get a 20 grand loan on it, your payment is less than 660, right? Now your number math does work. Now, where do you get that money? Well, there's many ways of doing it. I'm just telling you that then it kind of makes sense. You know, but again, I'll be cautious. If that's your first home, I wouldn't do that. That's for someone who's. I've done that once. I almost got burned, but it was a home that was kind of a similar situation. In that situation, the roof was bad, and I bought the home for like 10 grand, 3 bedroom, one bath. And I thought, you know what? And it's a small home. So I thought, you know what? I'll put a new roof, maybe, 20 grand and it'll be fine. And I found a 10 buyer who said they'll put the roof off if I gave them the supplies, which I thought was great. Well, they told me that the roof is in such bad shape that they can't do it. It's beyond their skill set. And then it's in a small city, and I got like 7 or 5 or 6 different quotes, and they all were in close to 30 grand.
Wow.
So, and nobody would do it. It's a small city, so there's limited number of, So because the reason was there were like 5 layers on it, and when you have too many layers, you gotta, and so it's more labor. So anyway, I just got lucky because otherwise I was completely screwed, right? So I got lucky. I said to the tenant buyer that, look, I can pay for a new roof and this is what it's going to cost per month. I can finance it and it'll be extra two, three, so it was $300. And they said, yeah, we'll pay. The husband and wife are truck drivers. They actually make a lot of money. So they're paying extra $300 a month and I got a brand new roof. But I'm saying that it could have turned the other way as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Alrighty. So we have just about, I want to share this one more time in case somebody missed this. Um, it's not here. Yep. About the 100, I don't know if you guys have tried this. I want you to try it and tell me so everybody can see my screen. So one more time, the recordings from past calls are at this URL. Major has already put it in the chat. Newbie pod, I've just been informed that a brand new newbie pod members have been accepted and they started a class, which is great news. That's the URL if you're interested in just getting information at this point, or if you're interested in applying the link, everything should be there. This is the link I was talking about. So Jolene, also for you, I don't know if you've used this, but if you have, then that's great. That's a really fast way of running through 100 homes. And once you do it, you'll feel confident in that market. And then if you put that much time and effort into one market, now then you should be placing offers in that market. So make a system where after you do 100 homes, then you start placing offers. And then these were the videos I was talking about. In past, I've done this. So there's this one right here. I think we were talking about tenant buyer management communication. So this one is where I talk about how I manage my portfolio and how I communicate with my tenant buyers. And then you probably know this. I know all of you are newbies, but we have certified private money lenders. One of them who actually is funding, I believe, 6 loans all at once. And the next one coming up is, I think he's funding 2 loans. So this is going to grow for your information. So when you are ready and you need funding, it hopefully it'll be there. I'm just letting you know this is not a program for somebody who doesn't have any slow flips. This, remember, it's like, let me tell you this. This is going to be interesting. So I was looking at my posting from about a year ago. It was a posting, I forgot what it was about, but it was something to do with newbies. There were 145 comments on that post. Major, listen to this. You'll enjoy this story. 145. And I'm telling you the story for a reason. And I got curious and I started clicking on the names of those people. This is typical, by the way, in our community. Almost 70% of the people who commented on that, this was a year ago, they no longer are active on our community. Okay. And I'm telling you this because this has to do with the certified private money lenders. And so one of the requirements is that they must have done at least 1 or 2 deals to be eligible for applying for a loan. So many newbies are saying, well, I need a loan right now and I haven't done anything. Well, the reason is a lot of people are just kicking their tire kickers. They want to see whether this is going to work, right? And so if I'm a certified private money lender, I want to lend to someone who's serious in this business. They're going to be here after a year, right? They're not going to be gone. So that's why that requirement is there. So for your first slow flip, you have to figure out how you're going to fund it. There are many other ways of doing it. If you don't have a private money lender, you'll have to get a private loan. If you have to get a HELOC, there's many different ways of doing it. But the first one is crucial. You have to be able to figure out a way to do it yourself. All right, Jolene, yes, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to ask you, how long does the seller give us to find our money after? You said we just have 3 days of due diligence to go take a look and do an inspection. How long do you think how quickly can we, I guess we need to have the money kind of lined up
Yes,
before
I
we
would
make an
not, I
offer?
would not, I would, when you're starting to make offers, by that time you should have a pretty good idea where your funding is happening. It
Okay,
should be pretty solid. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you have an offer accepted, and if you actually sign something, you're legally bound to close that. And if you don't, you're going to lose your earnest
earnest
money, and that
money.
might be $500 or whatever. But still, it's going to be a bad experience for you. And by the way, word gets around, people find out that, you signed a contract and then you couldn't close. That people will never work with you. Somehow word gets out, and so you don't want that. So I would get the funding lined up. While you're working on this, I would start working on that part as well.
Okay, and I'm working on it.
Cool, cool, wonderful. Like I said, there are many other ways of doing it. That day somebody was talking about getting line of credit. I'm actually excuse me, I'm talking to a company right now. They specialize in getting you business line of credit, which is for 1 year. A very, very low interest rate, or I think 0%, I forgot what. So they have a very specific way. What they do is they get you line of credit, business line of credit, and it's substantial. And then it's 1 year with no interest or something like that. So the idea is not that you buy a slow flip and that's it. Well, you buy it with that money, then you have a year to find a private money lender. Does that make sense? And then you can exit out of it and bring a private money lender, which should be a little bit easier because you have a property that is producing, right? Compared to a property, you haven't bought it yet and you're trying to tell a private money lender, well, I haven't done it yet, actually, right? Here you have a property that's already producing. So I'm working on that, and once it's finalized, I'll bring them on the call, and they're really good. I've actually used them personally for my business line of credit, and a really good guy. Here's the best part, guys. Here's the best part about them is that you probably might have worked with other people. These people, number one, they are, in my experience, very honest. The way they work is amazing. So they'll say, okay, we're going to get you the approximate, we can get you $100,000 line of credit based on your business. So I'm talking about business line of credit, not personal. Based on your business, we can get you this much line of credit. They don't get paid. They don't charge you anything. They only charge you if they're successful in getting you a credit line. And it's a small percentage of that. It's, I think, 4%. I forgot what it is, but it's a percentage of that, which is great because you're not out of pocket unless you get a line of credit. And they're really, really good. I'll bring them on when they're ready because this program is very specific. So when I bring them on, we will explain that program because the other program may not work for slow flip because if you cannot get cash out in regular program, it has to go to a bank and that kind of thing, and the interest rate is a little bit high, and then it goes from low interest rate suddenly it goes high in 4 months, 6 months. What I'm working on this new program, they haven't announced it yet. The interest rate stays low for 1 year, and that'll give us 1 year to keep that loan, keep the payment going, and I know it's less than 12% for sure. That's why. So I'll bring them on. Miguel, yes, go ahead, please.
Hi, Amir. Thank you. And in regards to what we're just talking about right now, will they borrow without much of you say it's a business line of credit, but will they borrow with like a new LLC for a new LLC or something like that?
No, yeah, that's one of the things is that it has to be at least a year, and you got to show a certain amount of revenue. I forgot what, I think it was 10 grand a month minimum. You got to show at least
Oh,
$10,000 a month minimum. I mean, these are not, these are companies that you'll already know. But what's special about them is they know, for example, they got me a line of credit from one of the companies that I never heard of. I mean, they're around, but it's a smaller bank. But it was very weird. They got me two lines of credit from the same bank, but they're different products, and they were both for $8,000, and which was so weird. Why would bank give you two lines of credit, right? So it's a different product. So they know about these things. So what they do is they match it, they apply, and also they actually help you with your. So let's say for certain line of credit, your credit score have to be certain. They are so good that they told me to move certain amount that you owe, like on your debt, move it around to another because they knew when the credit reports hit, and they're really good, very knowledgeable. I was like shocked, and they were right. My credit score, I think, just because of doing that, my credit score, I think, increased by I don't know 20 points or something. So
oh
they know
wow.
what they're talking about. They're really good guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hear from them. So what I was thinking, one of the options that I was thinking myself, I have a rental property that I have some equity on it. But I won't qualify with the debt to income ratio with my regular
Hmm.
the only W-2 of my wife and all that stuff. So it will have to be like a HELOC or like a DSCR loan HELOC kind of thing. It's just like based on my property and something
Hmm.
like that. I've been looking for a DSCR loan HELOC that will just focus on my property and give me just because the property is making some cash flow and everything. But
So let me ask you this: how much is your property making in cash flow?
It's so the mortgage is about 750 and the rent is about 2050 and probably like about $900 I will say after paying taxes and insurance,
Okay.
you know.
So how many years have you had it?
Oh, a long time, like 7 years, yeah.
7 years. So in a 5 year period, what is your average cash flow? Because that's what really comes down to. Like if something breaks down, that cash flow of $900 doesn't mean anything. So what I'm
Right,
trying to tell you, you make a decision. At the end, you look at this. I'll give you an example. I have my very first slow flip. I bought it for cash, $30,000, and I get 1,098 rent on that, right? Okay.
right,
Taxes and all that, if you take it out after that, I'm still netting about 30% return of investment. That's amazing.
right.
Do you see that? So what I'm saying is you have to start thinking that yes, it feels good to have a rental and yes and all that. But if you put that money, sell that and put that money in your first slow flip, at least your first slow flip would be pure cash flow.
Way better, of
Way
course, yeah.
better.
And I
30 per, you know?
yeah, and I have like 100 in equity there, so I will be able to actually get
Yeah.
couple
More than
slow
one,
flips.
exactly.
More than one for sure. So it makes total sense to go that way. It's just a matter of getting approved for that without have to be in like showing the debt to income ratio. So like we'll have to just focus in my equity on that rental property that I had
No, so
before.
for selling, you don't have to do anything. You just have to sell it.
Oh, for selling it. Oh,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
talking
I'm
about
just saying
selling
because
it.
right now you have it. Like you said, you're making 900, but I can guarantee you, if you look at your 5-year term and you look at the big expenses you had and you
Oh yeah.
average it out over 5 years, you'll find out that you're not really making a lot of money.
Oh yeah. Definitely,
Right?
definitely something to think about. I think I will sell that one particular because it's my wife's family's house, and she's hoping to
Oh,
go
I
back to
understand
that
that.
one.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
no, definitely makes a lot of sense to. But this is what I was trying to grab some money from the equity to put it to the slow flips because my first slow flip I bought it with cash, and I'm
Right,
okay with that.
right.
Actually, but I'm running into something I wanted to ask you real quick. I'm running. So the landlord that I sold it for has a tenant that is supposed to get out of the house because the landlord got divorced and cannot keep the property, so he wanted to give him back. So the tenant is still there though, and now I'm gonna put. I haven't done it yet, but like I'm gonna send a 5-day notice since they didn't pay and make this month payment,
Hold on,
and
hold on.
then
Let me ask you this.
yeah,
This investor that you sold the property to, you took the property back from them, right?
I'm trying to take it right now.
No, no, no. So I'm talking about the investor. He's the one you had a contract with, right?
Correct.
Okay. So he told you that he wants to give the property back to you, right?
Yep.
And you agreed, right?
Right.
That was a mistake because you knew there was a tenant in there, right? So, because I don't want you to make the same mistake again. So I have a similar situation. And so he came to me and said, "Hey, I want to give it back." You know, and mostly people get excited. Oh, sure, I'll repeat it. But there's a tenant in there. So I said, I will take the property back. And I gave him the condition. And I said, one of the condition was I want the property vacant. So he said, well, there's a tenant in this. I said, that's your problem.
Right.
So now it became your problem. So he said, don't make
Well,
that mistake again.
actually, well, I didn't sign any termination of the agreement or nothing. I
Then you
told
should
him,
go after him, tell him that, hey, I want the property vacant. And otherwise, and you know, you don't have to be nasty, but tell them matter of fact what's going to happen. A lot of people in our community don't understand. If you go through a legal eviction process, you do know that it stays on your credit for 7 years. So tell them, I'm just letting you know that if we go through through eviction, we will seek eviction. It will stay on your credit for 7 years. It's going to affect your credit for 7 years. It will affect you getting employment. It will affect you drastically in future. Just this one line, and I'm telling you, their tone will completely change. I had to deal with a tenant who was she thought that she was really smart, and she was actually blackmailing me. She was trying to get money from me. She said, "Oh, give me this much money, and I'll sign the quit claim deed." And I said, I don't think you know who you're dealing with. And I told her all these things. At the end, you know what? She signed it, and then she's okay. Please don't do this. Just make sure you don't file anything. I said, okay, that's fine. So you have to know your rights. You have to know that you're in the driving seat, and understand that if you just let them walk away, you're the one holding the bag now. Now, and it's
yeah,
very complicated because now you will have to still have to evict them, the tenants, right? So no matter.
they right. So would I send the 5 days notice to the landlord because I have the agreement with the landlord, right? Not with the tenants that are living there. I have the agreement directly with the landlord. So would I send the 5-day notice to the landlord in
Well,
this case?
first of all, you have to get an attorney involved. Have you
Okay.
got an attorney involved?
No, not yet.
No, you have to get an attorney. You can't. I mean, you can give a notice. Notice is not the problem. The thing is,
Okay.
if you know where it's going, you do need an attorney involved. And
Definitely.
what that will do is because if your notice is off or wrong, then it resets the clock, which means the attorney will say, well, the notice was wrong or it was not provided correctly. You have to give them this much notice, blah, blah, blah. I'm going through the same process. Trust me, the at the end, your cost will be still less if you get the attorney involved early because
Earlier,
you're
even
figuring
even
out how
before the
long it's going to take.
notice.
Where is it?
Is it Peoria? Do you have any attorney that you would recommend? You have some properties in Peoria,
Not in
right?
Peoria. Yeah, not in Peoria. I have in other places, but you can put it in the community and they'll tell you. I'm
Okay.
telling you, even if you spend $1,000, it's still going to save you money in the long run. And because
Okay.
it's the time that's going to save you. Otherwise, you're going to keep doing this for a couple of months and you realize that you still have to hire an attorney, you know.
Okay,
But
sounds good.
just know that for
I'll go jump
future.
right away to a call with an attorney even before I sell the notices. Then sounds good.
So if he comes out to you and says, "Hey, just I'm willing to give it back to you," say, "Yeah, I'm willing to do that," but tell him this is what I need done. I want you to evict the tenant, and then property has to be clean, blah blah blah, this and that, and then we'll talk about it. Don't commit to anything. And meanwhile, you can start eviction if you want to, but they're two different things. One is negotiation, and one is eviction. If you're negotiating, then you shouldn't be doing eviction. If he there is still a chance that he can either catch up. What you could say is this: keep current on your payments and please evict the tenant. And once the property is vacant and it's clean and you're current, then we can talk about I'll take back the property. Does that make sense?
What is happening is I told him, are you planning to make the payment? He said, I cannot make the payment, but I am working. He said, I'm working on the starting the eviction already towards the tenant, but he is not making the payment. He's already late on the payment this month.
So anytime he brings the tenant, say that's not my concern. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah, just say I need the payment. If you don't do the payment, we will evict you. Forget about the tenant. Don't even bring the tenant. Yeah, just say we will evict you, and the eviction will be on your credit. Do you see what I'm saying? And then tell him that I'm still going to seek judgment for the amounts due. So if I file, so you will have eviction on your credit. Plus, I will actually get the money that you owe me. So you're better off keeping current, getting the tenant out. That's your problem. And once the property is clean and ready to go and you're current, then maybe I'll consider taking the property back. Everybody has to understand this. There are these investors being taught that these guys, go to them, they'll for $1,000 down you can get a home, and if it doesn't work out, just tell them I want to give the property back. And a lot of people in our community are so happy, they say, oh, they take the property back. I tell them, oh, wait a minute, we have a 30-year agreement, okay? And so I give them a really hard time. So they understand this is serious. They can't just keep going from one person to another, And so as community, we have to understand this.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate it a lot. I will do that. I will do it exactly how you
Yeah,
say
please
it.
get the attorney involved as soon as you feel that he's not willing to make any payments and all that, and give them a deadline. Tell him, hey, I need to know by this date. If I don't receive a payment, I am filing.
Okay.
And I will just do it. Yeah. Good
Sounds
luck
good.
on that. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Amir.
Sure. All right, guys. So 9 o'clock on my side. Have a good week. And I'll see you all next week. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.